Picture this. You've got the smartest assistant in the world. It's read every book ever written, knows every fact, never sleeps, never complains. Then you ask it one simple question. What day is today? You get a blank stare back. Imagine that. Well, that's AI, folks. And it's not a glitch. It's just how the thing works. Today, we're going to explain why. And while we're at it, show you some things AI can do that most people haven't thought to even try yet, which is honestly my favorite part of this show. And then we got a great question from Danny, a Dear Idiots question from Danny. And we're going to kick the whole thing off with this. Danny, it's a better question than I think you even realized when you asked it. So I'm Joe Downs. With me is Peter Swain. We're just a couple of successful idiots who are using AI to improve our lives and power our businesses. And fair warning, though, Peter's British, which means he'll explain why AI doesn't know what day it is and somehow make it sound like your fault.
Of course it's your fault, but yeah.
All right, Claude's
what if I tell you if it's a feature, not a bug?
Well, we're going to get to that in a second, and I do want you to tell me that, and it's a stupid feature. But all right, Peter, here's what we have for the folks today. So 3 things we're going to get to. We got the question for the mailbag, which, Danny, that was your question, which is the topic of today's show, and love it. And now I'm even more intrigued because Peter's telling me it's a feature, stupid feature. Anyway, I guess I'm going to wait to be proven wrong on that. Then I want to go back into the home, because there's some AI stuff that makes things just run smoother around the house. And I've been talking to people and they're like, what about this? So we got some magic tricks. Today's full of magic tricks. And then, and one of them actually, I guarantee you people are going to start doing tonight. And then Peter, I think we've been neglecting a fairly large segment of the population. And that's really anyone who works for someone else, the employee. There's some pretty cool, again, I'm going to say magic tricks then, some really neat things that I want to bring up with you. And I want you to show someone who's an employee how they can start getting ahead and start making moves. All right. First, and folks, thanks so much for the emails. Keep them coming. idiots@successfulidiots.com. This week's Dear Idiots from Danny, and a little more context for you, Peter. He's running a Gemini Assistant, which is awesome, fairly advanced. Has his whole calendar loaded in, including his hockey schedule, and his gem keeps reminding him about games he doesn't have on the wrong days, like it's living in a parallel universe. So why does this happen? And really, why are you trying to sell us the lie that AI not knowing what day it is a feature?
It is honestly a feature. So we've got this thing, Joe, called a context window. Now, a context window is how much AI can understand before it starts pretending it's drunk. And humans also have context windows. We're talking to employees later on, and a lot of those employees, unfortunately, might be in those situations where they spend multiple hours in a meeting. You know those people that love calling a 4-hour meeting?
Yes.
Yes, those. I saw the face. Yes, I know those. Not understanding that after 45 minutes, the human brain really can't comprehend much anymore. We too, humans, have context windows. We have a certain amount of information that we can process at any one time. Now, AI has a lot bigger context window than we do, but it is a very hard cutoff. So at some point, and if you've been using AI for a while, you've experienced this, they just start talking gibberish. In the early versions, you'd be like, yes, I can help you with that email. And it would literally say, snow, monkey, elephant, giraffe. I mean, it would just go completely off the rails. It was quite fun, but it wasn't very useful. So if you've got this thing called context window, Joe, the question is, what do you put in it? Because everything you put in is going to fill the context window. So
Not
even
with
the
you.
date is going to fill the context window. So the decision was made, rightly or wrongly, which is why I'm saying it's a feature. It might not be a good feature, but it was a feature. The decision was made. It's not very hard for you today to say today is February 19th. And if time isn't a relevant factor to you, like, for example, we spoke about doing financial analysis. Your board does financial analysis in the past. Like, what would you do in this situation? Here's my statement of account. Or I'm looking to recruit a new marketing manager. Write me a job description. If you think about it, 9 out of 10 of your use cases are not time bound.
Okay, so the I don't want to make this a technical show, but the LLM, the
Large language model.
Is it the feature? So you're saying it's not a feature. It's deliberately not included as a feature.
Correct. I would agree with you
it's a skill
that it was a bad design choice, but it was a choice.
It was in the interest of being able to compute more? Is that what you're saying?
Everything you put in is going to limit how long a conversation you can have with it.
Okay, so it's operating in a space that doesn't need to know the time for 99% of what it's doing for us.
Correct. So why would you put it in?
So why put it in and slow it down? I think it's a speed thing is what it sounds like, right?
No, it's like imagine water in a glass.
Huh?
A conversation can only have so much water in the glass, and when you fill the glass too much, the water's going to come over the top. So it's not
Right.
speed, it's capacity.
Okay, so that it's a design.
It's a crappy choice, in my opinion,
So they
because
made it-
the people that have that conversation say, well, why didn't we put the weather in? Or why don't we put your top 10 favorite books in? Or all
Well,
this stuff.
I'm on
It's
board
like,
with all of that, actually.
time and date is time and date. Like, come on. That's not the same as, do I like Jill Collins' 80s trash romance books? That's what is the time and the date. So I do believe they should have put it in. But the solution really is as simple to do one of two things. Number one, either say today is at the beginning of the thing, or two, ask it to look up today's date before it continues. So if you have a gem, in this case, like a gem is like a custom GPT, the first line should say, before you continue, look up today's date. Do not make any assumptions. You must get an up-to-date time and date reference from the internet. If you put that as the first line of the instruction in the gem, Danny's problem disappears.
Okay, but gosh, we live in a world where we can use AI, and what Danny's doing is he's syncing. He's got a gem, his calendars sync, like
It's phenomenal.
so advanced, and yet the solution is just do something so archaic every time while you're using this so advanced tool.
Yes. And I'm going to defend the industry whilst agreeing with you for a second. One, we're not even 3 years in.
It's not fast enough.
But we're not even 3 years in. And training a new model of the large language model takes a year. So if a bug gets found today, like of this level, it's at least a year before you can actually fix it properly. You can patch stuff, but to actually fix the model is a whole nother year. Now, obviously, they're doing that in parallel. So they're not doing like one and then another and then another. But there are cycles to the innovation.
Do you think it gets added in soon?
Yes. I mean, to me, it's a ridiculous oversight. As I said, I actually agree with you. I'm just explaining all
Now
of it
you're
as we
saying
see
oversight. Oh, you mean oversight
think-
in the decision? Yeah. Okay.
I would have put it in.
Yeah. It's so fascinating.
Because to me, it's like, well, if you want to make this useful to people in their daily life,
right.
then the word daily is already temporal. It's already time bound because we're saying daily life. So
And when you say daily, I'm assuming you mean every increment of that day, because really we're talking time too, not just date.
But a context window of like 200,000 characters is already getting filled with 20,000 characters of all the stuff it's remembered about you, which is why they're pretty brutal with how they prune what goes into the conversation. To me, as soon as you're saying today, tomorrow, next week, this week, all of those are temporal, which means that injecting the time in the background kind of makes sense, but they don't decide to do it. So that was my first reason, by the way, we're already 3 years in. My second reason is, have you ever tried to have conversations with people with IQs of 170, with triple maths degrees and quantum physics degrees, with a cryptology background? They're not necessarily the most adjusted of humans.
Have you?
Like, yeah, unfortunately. The intelligence that it requires to have conceived the AI developers are some of the smartest people in the world, but it's a very abstract form of intelligence. So actually humanizing the intelligence is actually one of the hardest parts of the job, which is why you prefer Claude, and everybody prefers Claude to ChatGPT, because Claude is actually more humanized.
More human. That makes so much more sense. That second part, now I get it, because I can picture the extremely high IQ introvert who may or may not even operate on a normal, 9 to 5 schedule, if you will. And most of us don't, but we get up in the morning and we're all up around the same time and we all work to around the same time. And yeah, that they probably don't have a concept of normal time. That is interesting. That's actually the most logical reason, is they just didn't think of it.
Yeah, and then by the time they thought about it, to them, they'll have a shortcut of like Command-Shift-T upper caret that inserts the time. They're like, well, you can just hit Command-Shift-T upper caret, right? And you'd be like...
And they probably actually calculated that by the time this reaches a mass of people that are angry that we don't have date and time, we'll introduce the control...
Now you're thinking like somebody that's an AI engineer. Which is why Claude has employed... I think they employed about 4 times more product managers than OpenAI and ChatGPT do. people that actually think and represent the customer and have conversations with the developers.
The more I talk about Claude, the more people I'm talking to about it, the more they're shifting over. I think they're seeing it. No, a lot of them are entrepreneurs like us, and yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of time, you did some foreshadowing into what I want to talk about next with the analyzing the financial statements. Because
almost like I knew what we were going to talk about. Maybe I was just proving that I did read the show notes you sent me this time.
I love it. This was not an email, but I also talked to people in passing, and two things that came up, or one in particular was one thing that hits, this is not the employee part, but one thing that hits employees that most of them have 401ks. And they're supposed to, I don't even know if they give these people a video to watch anymore, but you're supposed to put on your hat and now you're a financial advisor. So, when you're making your elections at the window that they give you to balance your 401k portfolio, or when you just start one, how would you like to invest? It's almost unfair that you give people these options, right? So with no guidance or very little guidance. So Peter, what can they do? What can somebody, if let's say they already have a 401k, they got a statement now, I don't know, it's time to make my reallocation elections. How is this where we introduce a board of advisors? Do you even need one?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would voice prompt and I would speak through my belief of the world. So I'd be saying, something like, I think that we might go to a war with Iran. I think that's probably going to happen. And I think this is going to happen. And this AI thing is going crazy. And I'd be talking through my worldview. That's what I would do.
To balance your 401k?
100%. Because then I'd be turning around and saying, based on everything I've just told you, give me a future prediction of the stock market. Like, tell me where you think things are going to go. Are we thinking stocks upon, what's going to happen? And then I'd be saying, great, I'm with Charles Schwab, for example. I assume we're not doing self-directed, but are we doing self-directed at this point? Or
it doesn't matter, because whether it's 401k, you're making, you've limited choices, but you're still making choices. You're at Charles Schwab, for your example, you've got unlimited choices. You're still making choices.
Okay, so I'm in Schwab. Based on what I've just told you, how would you respond? What would you do? And what would your hedge be against what I just said, just in case I'm wrong? Now, we've done this in real life, and then we asked it to backtest its strategy over the last 10 years and then course correct it 5 times over, iterate 5 times over your strategy based on backtested data from the last 10 years. And we got it to the stage where it could do just about 1% to 2% worse than a Morgan Stanley $1 million portfolio manager for high net worth individuals, but without the fees.
You just made up your 1% to 2%. That's pretty fascinating. So it was rebalancing. All right. Well, you took this in a different direction than I was expecting.
I'd want my 401k to reflect my worldview. So if I believed that Trump was the best thing in the world and all these policies are amazing, I'd want my 401k to match and mirror that kind of the philosophies that are coming out with like environmental deregulation. If I was on the other side of the yard and I thought Trump was the worst thing that ever happened and he's going to get thrown out of office and environmental regulation will come back and it'll be double, well, then I wouldn't want to invest in heavy industry anymore. I'd want to invest in light industry. And what I was trying to get to in my response was, you don't need to understand how all of that stuff is going to impact this stuff. You don't need to understand what stocks, what shares, what bonds, what's going to happen to the housing market if America goes to war with Iran. You don't need to understand that. But you just need to say that's what you believe. You need to tell it whether you want to be hyper-aggressive. Do you want to be conservative? What does your portfolio look like?
I'm not sure some people should do this because I think their beliefs might be misguided. But you just gave them a roadmap
so let's do on the other side.
Well, hold on. You as a former financial advisor, I will say this: you just gave them a roadmap to have your money managed that aligns with your beliefs. Really important. Go ahead.
Got to make sure we do this. Obviously, this is not financial information. This is education and entertainment purposes. Anything that said should be taken as purely entertainment value. Thank you very much.
As a former financial advisor with securities licenses, I was going to make sure we got that in there. So thank you. But
yeah, so that would be the approach I would take. What else could you do? You could also say, if you're a money manager for Charles Schwab, what would you do? Tell me what Warren Buffett would do when presented with the same information. Again, we've had this conversation so many different ways, so many different times, and we're going to carry on having it. Context, 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 context. The prompt is simple. I want you to rebalance this. Simple. The context, what is it you believe? How much risk do you wish to take? How much risk do you not wish to take? How many children do you have? Is there anyone in your family that is less able that you may need to look after? Are you about to have to start preparing to care for an elderly parent, in which case you might need more cash allocation than long-term holdings? So those are the kind of things that come into play here.
All right. Well, this is 401k is a nice bridge back into the house, because we probably have one if we 401k, and therefore we probably have things that maybe don't go as smoothly at home as we'd like. So along the lines of using AI to help us with difficult family decisions or planning for holidays, we've sort of touched on working with contractors in the past, but what we didn't talk about was even renovation budgets if you are looking at doing something. Or as I was doing some show prep, one of the things that stuck out to me in this part of the show that I thought was great, because I grew up as one of 12 kids, and we had a chore list. And, and for us, it was, we had two different ones, either a nightly one or a weekly one. There was every now and then the mob would rise up and demand change. And so we would switch from weekly chores to nightly chores. Managing it was, balancing the managing of it was part of the, can you imagine, you have two kids. Can you imagine, there weren't 12 angry men, but there were probably 6 or 7 of us that were involved. Actually, there's probably only 5 and 6, if I recall, because it matched to the days of the week, because the other ones would have been younger. But my point is, they're getting too long-winded here. You can imagine the battles over who's doing what was. How can AI step in here and just take some of the tension and stress away from these normal home conflicts that...
I got a cool idea. What if you were to use Claude, and as the parent you were to set up a Claude team account, and you could use Google Gemini as well for this, and you said, here's all the chores and here are my kids, and when they log in, you're going to do a spin the wheel of all of the chores, and when they take the chore, you're then going to make sure you give it to them in such a way that they can prove whether it's done or not via a camera. So they could take the picture of clean the kitchen, they could take the picture of it. And at the end of the day...
Would AI judge whether it was done? My goodness. Go ahead.
And at the end of the day, you're going to tell me how many chores each kid has done, and whoever's done the most gets the next day off.
That is hilarious. That would have been interesting in our house. I'll tell you what, things would have gotten done faster.
That's just my crazy idea, but yeah.
Capitalism would have definitely won the day there. Whoever could have gotten it done faster for the day off. What about along the same lines? I love that for the chore. For holidays, holiday planning.
What about it? Holiday plan. Oh, that's easy. We did that. That's the Disney.
No, I don't mean... Oh, I forgot you're British. We call those vacations. Holidays are things like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Yeah.
What is President's Day whilst we're on this?
We just had it.
No, I know, but what is it?
It's the day we honor the fact that we had presidents.
Congratulations on having presidents.
No, we honor the Mount Rushmore presidents.
See, that makes more sense, right? So it's the big four.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I'm not even sure it's all four.
Most of those were British, so good. I agree.
They were not loyalists. Clearly, they put their name to something. I don't think you want to go there.
If anyone can't hear the inherent humor, I'm proud that we birthed one of the greatest nations in the world. You're like our child. It's a true honor.
Look at me squirming in my chair.
You just so want to respond, but you're like, I can't on the pod.
I'm just sorry, but we're just want to know. We're just always going to be want to know.
I don't disagree with you, courtesy of the French. Okay, let's get back to it before I go on a French rant.
Oh, jeez. All right. This is one that I love, and it's something I think I want to do. One of the unfortunate things about AI lately is, fortunate, unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, is all the deep fakes. Some of it's crazy. Fortunately, it's getting some kids in trouble at school. I've read headlines about that. Some of the stuff is wildly entertaining, though, that you see on social media. Some of it's wildly misleading, certainly when it gets to political and all that. My point is there's a whole bunch of noise out there. Can we bring it back to some goodness, some wholesomeness that AI can in the home? How do we take, Peter, old videos, pictures? I don't know how many pictures I have on my cell phone. 100,000, who knows? Because our cell phone is our best camera. how do we take, what can we do with this? What can we do that's positive? Put something together that, puts a smile on somebody's face or brings a tear to their eye.
So Claude can create these things called artifacts. They're you don't need to know how to do them in order to do them. And you could literally just upload 20 pictures and say, create a digital experience of these next to a soundtrack. You could go to lovable.dev and you could say, here are all the pictures, create me a family photo album, and make it so that there's like a guest book, so they sign and put their own memories. So you could have this interactive tool where everybody has their own photos and it kind of groups them together and stuff like that.
Where does that live? Like, what's the delivery method of that?
Dev has its own Lovable cloud, so it will publish it to the cloud for you, so it would create its own website.
Oh, so you can make memory movies.
Yeah, you can make memory movies. You could make guess the location games. You could get it to generate a different version to do spot the difference versions of it. I mean, you could turn them into trading card versions and digitally send them to each other.
On them.
Yeah. The answer to almost all of these things, as long as we're in the digital realm, the answer is, where does your imagination take you?
Yeah.
It really is unlimited as to what you can do once you go, it can digitally deliver anything that I'm thinking of. Then you're up and you're to the races. Now, just on the subject, and we can decide to go down this rabbit hole as much as we want or not at all. The reason of the deep fakes, by the way, is because they're regulating for the wrong thing. They're trying to regulate, or some parties and some senators and congressmen are pushing for the regulation to say the production of deep fakes is illegal. Prohibition has never worked in the history of ever. It doesn't work. Never has done. Never will do. And if you do that, all that's going to happen is these kind of silos, the Chinese AIs just pop up in the background and people just work around it anyway. Where I think they've gone critically wrong is what should be illegal is the dissemination of deepfakes, the distribution, because name and likeness laws already exist. I own my face, you own yours. David Beckham ironically doesn't own his because he sold it to a company that he owns, but we own our name and likeness. Those laws already exist. So we should be working more on the distribution, because then you could actually regulate Instagram, Facebook, Google, etc., because it would be the distribution of, not the production of, that becomes the legal constraint. It would be much easier to enforce a law on Instagram, Facebook, Google, etc., than it would to enforce a law on 350 million individual people.
That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point.
Complete rabbit hole. But it's the deepfake thing is going to carry on. It's not going anywhere until you actually start regulating and financially hurting the people that are facilitating the distribution of the deepfakes. Because Facebook and Instagram are currently earning money because they want more content that more people are watching. So it's in their interest to let you publish a Margot Robbie playing baseball video, because if 50,000 people watch it, they get paid. Yep,
that makes sense. I want to get to the employee, because I think there's more employees than any other social group in the world. The other day I was having lunch and I overheard a conversation, and it was two employees working for whatever company. And I picked up bits and pieces of the conversation, but it was essentially the strife of the conversation was, one of them, they were kind of counseling each other. And one of them was saying that they didn't really know what their boss expected of them, not necessarily in a negative way, just from a, like, I don't know how to advance myself here. I don't know what the rules, I don't know what they expect. I don't even know where I'm going. I don't know if I love this job. Like, what's my career path? Am I blocked? And the other one was trying to counsel them, well, you got to work on your resume. I said, well, you can only put so much yours. The whole point is, and I don't know about you, when you overhear this stuff, like, I wanted to just say, hey guys, and then, give them like 9 different things that my feeble brain could come up with. I thought it better. Well, first of all, I didn't have time. I don't know about you, but I get burnt out just trying to counsel people on AI. I thought, you know what? This is going to make for a great segment. So, because there's so many employees out there, people listening are most likely, odds are you work for somebody. I know we're entrepreneurs. We love catering to and talking to things that help entrepreneurs and students and parents, but we haven't done very much for the employee yet. So you're in a job, Peter, you're in a Fortune 500 company, let's say. That's a whole different, you talked about meetings earlier and scheduling 4-hour meetings. I listen to my wife sometimes is just VP of sales for Fortune 500. I swear they have meetings to plan meetings. I mean, these are, all day long, meeting after meeting after meeting. So it's a whole different organization. You have to learn. There's a different way to talk about how you downloaded this person and uploaded that, but it's a whole language.
Where's the question?
You see how much this is painful to me?
Exactly. You say you get burnt out as entrepreneurs. Like, I'm tracking. What are we at? What are we doing?
Help the employee who's stuck in this morass of a bureaucracy navigate their way through to, I don't even know. Frankly, I think they should navigate their way out.
But the number one problem, you're right, this would be a good segment, but the number one problem is I got fired from the only job I ever held after 2 days because I called someone an F-wit. So I'm obviously not actually very good at this myself. So how the AI would work, I don't really know. But the things that come off on the top of my head is I would download the company's financial statements. I download their quarterly reports. I'd get the transcripts of their share investor earnings type thing. And I would have a growing Rosetta Stone of what is this company trying to achieve? What is its North Star? How does it work? Etc. So that I really understood what winning looked like at the top level. So that'd be the number one thing. I'd have the AI build a very rich context document on the company I work for. I would then do what we said about a couple of episodes ago about when I built the virtual version of my wife. I built a virtual version of my boss so I could have conversations with them and I could role play having a conversation and I could work out how to present ideas, concepts, etc. Those are the two biggest ones I'd do. I'd have a virtual version of the person I work for and a very deep context document for the company I worked for.
Okay, that is excellent advice. Obviously, what about what I'm thinking? Like, because one of the things that this particular individual was struggling with was the career path. How would you? Is there a prompt?
Yeah, I'd get Manus to scrape Indeed and look at the job ads for the job for my next job. And then I'd get it to disseminate the aggregate skill set that would be required for those jobs. So, if you're director of sales, what does a VP of sales job description look like? What is the difference? What do I need to prove?
Yeah, and like what qualifications do they need maybe, depending on where they are?
What additional courses could I take?
Do you need a master? Yeah, that's where I was wondering.
What networking group should I join? I'd basically say to the AI, this is who I am, this is where I want to be, and I want to be there in this time. What do I need to learn? Who do I need to know? What do I need to develop? How do I prove that?
And can I add one, I think? How do you add that? Meaning, how do you promote that along the way?
How do you advocate for yourself?
How do you advocate? Thank you. So how do you, I was going to say brag, but you're right. How do you advocate along the way with your boss? I guess, could it put together an entire like GPS for your
100%? Yeah, because you're going to end up saying something like, hey boss, can I get a holiday day on Friday? Because I'm going to this executive leadership conference to learn about this new CPA. I don't know. I'm like making up words now because I'm not an employee.
No, I know.
But I'm going to this thing. And they're like, did we pay for that? And you're like, no, I wanted to learn it. I think you can start peppering in the accolades without like wearing the badge.
Yeah, even just
and
like
obviously
little tips and tricks like that. When to drop them in, how to position.
Yeah, and everyone's been
them.
stalked on social media, so you want to make sure you get your picture at the conference, right, with the logo behind you. But yeah, AI can guide you through. I mean, one of the things about AI, and Joe, I think you're starting to experience this more and more now, is you kind of have to just keep talking because actually the entire thing takes 5 seconds to show somebody. So you end up with like lots of filling dead air. Like, because the answer to can AI do is yes. Yes, it can. Whatever the insert blank here was, if we're in the digital world, the answer is AI can do it. If we're in the physical world, the answer next year is Optimus Prime can do it. So either way, AI can do it.
We're not going there yet. You're so right, though. It's like when we talked about, I don't know, it was last episode or the one before, about how the difficult conversations, the hardest part is what we think is the hardest part is actually the easiest part. The hardest part is the context. It's the loading the AI with the context. Then you get back in seconds, very good degree guidance, advice, whatever that helps reframe you. Those were your words, and prepares you to walk into any situation. And here it's just, to me, this is the long form of it as the employee. I like that, the career GPS, right? This is the long form of it. It's the context, just constantly it's a diary. You have to have a daily, multi times a day daily conversation with your diary, if you're being intentional about something,
And I tell you,
you're
for
giving it all
everybody
that
else out there,
context.
as soon as you've done it once and got the whole prompts working, you're probably only $5,000 to $10,000 worth of development time away from having a launchable product. Right? Because as soon as you said career GPS, I'm going, I could build that.
Oh, is that a product?
Yeah, but all of them are.
This show is going to morph into a mini Shark Tank of ideas.
But like wrapping AI for renovation costs, product, holiday planner, product, memory maker, product. Like each of these become their own products, and with the advances in some of the vibe coding and the more technical stuff, if you're even moderately inclined in that way, you've got a maths background or an engineering background, or you're not that far away from being able to actually bring these things to life, which is
all right.
insane.
I'm gonna brag. Before the show started, I got a text from my son. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about the athlete training program that you could put together, whatever? I developed one for him too, for lacrosse. I said, here you go. You need to start doing this because it's a big recruiting year for him. And I was a little disappointed because I don't think he'd started to implement it yet. And this morning I got a text with a link to a website he created in Manus, which is for athletes, high school athletes training. And it's an interactive website. And his next text was, we just need to test it out. And then I think I can sell it. Yes, it's working. We are winning. I couldn't be more proud. And who knows if it's ready, you know, obviously probably could be some bugs in it, but the fact that he's even there taking an idea and turning it into a product, right? A service in this case. It's just amazing. Well, the career GPS, actually, I didn't see that coming here, and I absolutely love that. But I love the show because even from the beginning with why can't AI know what day it is, that was such great insight into how this thing is designed. And, you know, one of the frustrating things I think Peter, is that it feels like it's constantly changing so fast. It's hard to keep up with. And I know that's frustrating when you're trying to, what do I do next? I just learned that. Now you're telling me to look over here at this shiny object. But I think that's
I just spent 2 weeks learning Opus 4.6 in Claude and the limitations of how to build Claude code and how to use it. And yesterday, Sonnet 4.6 was released, and it invalidates almost everything I've learned in 2 weeks.
Maybe not the context of what you learned, right?
The important thing is to learn the math, not the calculator.
Yeah.
Like it's about learning these transferable skills that can traverse from family to employee to business so that as the things move along, it doesn't really matter whether AI adds the date or not, but I think hopefully what Danny took away from that is just adding that first line to the gem. But it may be something he hadn't, because he didn't know he needed to do it, he or she.
And my point is for now, because it sounds like a fix is on the way.
That's also a permanent fix for any issue like that.
The thought process,
of like, if it doesn't know my location, then I could just add that into the top of the gem. Right? Yep. Before we do anything else, look up my location.
And I guess what I'm looking for is it's the skill of this is how I need to treat that. It just happened to be the date we're talking about, but that skill 100%. Is transferable to anything else. Yeah, I have so much fun doing this show. It's hopefully folks are learning every week. For Peter here, I know I am. That's why I enjoy doing this show. So if you are, please like, subscribe, and share. Help us grow the show. We genuinely appreciate it. And keep those Dear Idiots emails coming, idiots@successfulidiots.com. One final question, Peter. idiots@successfulidiots.com or idiots@successfulidiots.ai. My question for you, quickly before we go, is .ai going to overtake .com?
No, because some people, when you say .ai, because they're not in our world, will put .ai.com, which doesn't work.
I thought you were going to say they think it's Allen Iverson, the
Let's
original
leave it with
AI.
.com. But we bought both, so it doesn't matter. Wherever you want to email us, we'll find it.
For Peter Swain, I'm Joe Downs. We are your Successful Idiots. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week, folks.